Welcome to this course preview on strategic selling. Selling takes place internally within retailers and vendors, across departments and teams. Like the category manager at a retailer, selling an idea or concept to their business unit lead or manager. Or a vendor's category analyst or category management director selling an idea or concept to a marketing director or sales director within their organization. So, when we refer to the seller and buyer, realize that the concepts and analogies are relevant across multiple types of relationships. Here are the learning objectives for the full accredited course. In this course preview, we'll only be partially covering some of these objectives. Here are the questions that will be addressed in this chapter, which focuses on strategic selling and the 5-step process. It's important to start off by reviewing what selling can refer to. There are different seller-to-buyer relationships, some internal and some external. For example, it may be the account manager or sales director going to call on the category manager or business unit lead at the retailer. Or it may be the category analyst or vendor advisor making a call to the category manager or someone else in the retail organization responsible for different components of the category review process. It could also be the retailer's category manager selling a new promotion or plan to an account manager or sales director. Selling also takes place internally within retailers and vendors, across departments and teams. Like the category manager at the retailer selling an idea or concept to their business unit lead or manager. Or a vendor's category analyst or category management director selling in an idea or concept to a marketing director or sales director within their organization. So when we refer to the seller and buyer throughout this course, realize that the concepts and analogies are relevant across multiple types of relationships. We will be referring to seller and buyer examples primarily based on the vendor to the retailer in our examples, but the learnings can be applied to different situations. Meet our seller Melanie and our buyer Michael. They will walk us through some seller-buyer examples in this course. Communication skills are the most important thing to develop to become an effective seller. First of all, you should show that you're interested in what they have to say, do less talking and more listening, and maintain eye contact. Next, you should empathize with your buyer and consider things from their perspective. If your buyer is a retailer, consider their overall strategies, respect their rules and principles, and try to align your idea to their overall strategy. And finally, ask lots of questions. This helps to clarify, generates discussion between you and your buyer, and shows that you're listening. It also helps you to get more information about your buyer and their needs. A good seller always needs to think about things from a buyer's perspective. As you approach a buyer with an idea, especially if it's different from the norm, there's natural resistance to change. A good seller always needs to think about things from the buyer's perspective. As Melanie approaches Michael with an idea, she needs to think about what's important to him and why it's a good idea for him. When you're presenting an idea to a buyer, you want to make sure that it aligns to your buyer's situation. From their perspective, questions may arise, such as, is the idea aligned to my strategies? Is it going to help my business or a specific issue? Will the idea help me or just create more work? And thoughts such as, I'm satisfied with what I'm doing now. Ensure that you understand your buyer's motives and how their business works. By asking great questions, Melanie will understand what's important to Michael and can develop her presentation around those needs and interests. Next, the idea must be practical for your buyer. Your ideas may sound practical to you, but if your buyer's not interested, then the idea may not be practical for them. Some questions that may arise in their mind when you're presenting an idea are, what will this do for me? Why is this a better idea than what I'm currently doing? What is the risk associated with this idea? And of course, how much time and money will it cost? Michael wants Melanie to offer practical help in the areas that are most important to him, or he will most likely not be interested. Once we cover the considerations for ideas, we review a presentation framework which follows why a buyer buys, step by step. Following this framework will ensure that you cover all the important considerations that are likely to arise in your buyer's mind. There are 5 steps, including summary of the situation, stating the idea, explaining how it works, describing key benefits, and suggesting next steps. This approach can also be used when developing your actual presentations. In the full course, Melanie walks through the 5-step process with her buyer, including an example sales presentation. As an example, once Melanie knows how important a good summary is, she's wondering how to start off. There are a number of ways of leading into the summary of the situation. One method is to relate to a previous sales call. For example, Michael, on my last call, you were mentioning how you're having a hard time keeping our product in stock. Since then, we ran an audit in all of your stores, and here's what we found. Another method is to relate to an observation. For example, Michael, as I walked in one of your stores, I noticed a high level of out of stocks, and here's what I recommend. You can also relate to a previous discussion that you may have had with someone. For example, Michael, during my last store visit, I had an opportunity to talk to the aisle clerk, and he mentioned that they're having out-of-stock issues and constantly having to restock one particular item. Finally, you can link to a new idea based on something that you know will interest your buyer. For example, Michael, I have been giving special thought to your business since my last call. So once again, there are multiple ways to start your summary. The key is to engage your buyer by talking about benefits that relate to his or her conditions, needs, and limitations. After the steps of the presentation are covered in the full course, here's an example of easy next steps from Melanie. Michael, I know that you have a lot on your plate right now and that this launch will only add to that. I've already prepared an automatic distribution form for each of the stores in the chain. All I need is your signature to confirm the orders. Our merchandisers will set up the displays in store and install the shelf trays on the day the product arrives. Melanie has made the next steps easy to execute and even offered to do some of the work for him, so he's agreed to the next steps. The rest of the course covers how to handle different types of objections, which, when unexpected, can be dangerous to your goal of finding a win-win solution that creates value for both you and your buyer. We also include a 3-step process to handle objections, developing negotiation skills, and the walkaway positions that need to be planned for. We've now completed this course on strategic selling. Here's a summary of what you learned in this course. First, create ideas that are of interest to the buyer. Follow the 5-step sales process. And make sure that you consider potential buyer objections and include them in the summary of the situation. Learn how to deal with different types of objections and define your alternatives for negotiation, as well as your walkaway positions. If you put these things into practice, you will become more effective in your sales presentations and create more win-win solutions for your buyers. We've now completed this course preview on strategic selling, so where do you go from here? If you're interested in purchasing the popular certified course, or working with us to help you determine training opportunities for you, your team, or your organization that will ultimately lead to a new level of strategic selling, please contact us. We don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach and will consult with you to ensure that what we deliver meets your specific needs and business issues. We hope to hear from you soon. Have an excellent day.